the end, our town attorney, Paul Briggs, has to leave in a certain amount of time. So we're going to roll through the business that we have quickly so that he can be present for that. And then we'll cap it off with the presentation. And Denise, if you would like to.
Great. As you may notice, Michelle Martinelli isn't here this morning. On Friday, on Valentine's Day, which is sort of appropriate because she lost her mother a few months ago. Her father went home to be with her mother. And I know a lot of folks knew Michael DeSerbo. He was a very active member of the community, and obviously he gave us Michelle. So we will be forever in his debt, and Michelle will be out for a few days. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to begin with item number 2. And so I'm going to call
Anybody?
Jeff Twitty. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the stand-in for Laura today.
I am. So item number 2, a resolution to hire an intern to complete the ADA transition plan, adjust the hourly rate of the intern for our ADA transition plan. We're looking to bring on Brian Toy, is a recent planning graduate, and he'll be helping us out to fill in the gaps of our ADA plan that was kind of put on hold with the departure of Assistant Council Finnan. So hopefully we can get that done this summer and get that submitted to the county so that that's not hanging over our heads anymore. For adjusting the hourly rate of the intern, we're looking to make a fix to Julie Martinelli's hourly rate. There was a mistake made that put her at $12 an hour, so we're looking to put that up at $12.50. I believe that she has already been receiving the $12.50 rate as of now, so this would just be, an official change to have that on record. Items 3, a resolution to authorize the submittal of the CDTC Capital Coexist Grant for a pop-up event in Bike Lane on Grand Boulevard. Over the last month, Laura and I have been in talks with the County Highway and Engineering Department, trying to get permission really to hold a summer festival, it's a Saturday festival on Grand Boulevard that would involve people biking from Van Antwerp Middle School up Grand Boulevard to about Myron Street and back down to Van Antwerp, which I believe would be the intersection of Grand and Story. We've received permission from the county to hold that event, so we'll be laying out chalk paint, and we're going to make sure that it's temporary this time. We're going to be running tests, or perhaps just setting up cones to hold some kind of event, hopefully this summer if we do receive that. So that grant was submitted earlier really late last month. Item 4 is a resolution to authorize the submittal of the terrestrial and aquatic invasive species rapid response grant to the DEC. Laura sent this in on Friday, and what we're looking to do is combat water chestnut issues at Aqueduct Park and the Hemlock Woolly Adelgid infestation at the Leishkill Park. So that was submitted, and what we put in, we're hoping to receive $20,250 from it. And of that, about $945 would go to trash bags, which we need to collect the water chestnut from Aqueduct Park. And there would also be $9,000 in kind from volunteers. It would be placed at $3,000 a year. And we would be getting in kind from Niskuna Rowing, SKIAC for the Hemlock Woolly Adelgid infestation in Leishkill, and also the CAC and Tree Council, who will also be addressing the Hemlock Woolly Adelgid infestation in Leishkill. Items 5 and 6. Item 5 is awarding a contract for bathrooms at Aqueduct Park, and item 6 is a resolution to hire an engineer for the Mohawk Watersheds project. I was told by Ms. Robertson that those resolutions are not ready, but they will be prepared in time for March. Item 7, a resolution to authorize the submittal of a 10,000 trees and growing application to National Grid. That application was submitted earlier this month, and what it seeks to do is plant appropriate trees under National Grid power lines. We've received some calls from concerned residents on Ray Street about excessive pruning, removal of trees from the right-of-way that is under National Grid power lines. So National Grid seeks to kind of, mitigate the impact of taking all these trees out by planting shorter trees under power lines. So what they'll do is they'll offer us a $50 rebate per tree that we plant under power lines that are appropriate to be there. And that is all. Thank you, board. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, have we worked with the tree council on this?
Yes, the tree council worked on that.
Right. Now, I want to thank Ray, because Ray is really the one who brought this to our attention. This was something that came out of our committee. Ray has been really trying to augment our tree supply. So thank you very much for helping make it happen while Ray was busy making sure our roads are safe. So team effort here. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. We're now going to move on to Ray Smith.
Oh, Ray.
What do you know?
Number 8 is a resolution, accept bids and purchase various materials used by the town in its public works operation. A year ago, we did open bids with a rollover clause. This allows the contractors to keep the same price for another year. And we send letters out every year to see if they're able to roll over at the price, because things do fluctuate. On this list are all the ones that have agreed to carry on. So we do have first bidders and backup bidders. This is for patching for water breaks, paving of roads and such. We will have a couple additionals, such as mowing of holding ponds and stuff that will come next month. But this is what we got together, and this is important so we can start our paving list for this year. We had no way of starting it without knowing what the cost was going to be. So this is very important. Any questions on that?
No, thank you.
Number 9, resolution authorized superintendent to advertise for bids for temporary seasonal labors in the highway department. This is a bid that would not roll over. This is labor ready, was currently labor ready for the yard
Yeah.
waste pickup.
I thought we were going to get it to roll over again. I'm sorry, I
they
missed
would
that.
not roll over.
It wouldn't? Okay.
This has happened with them before.
I remember you said you were going to try it, but I just thought it was.
We did try.
Yeah.
Their prices are based on minimum wage.
Sure, so that makes sense.
They feel to, we'll put that bid out. Number 10 is a resolution authorized superintendent of highways advertise for bids for certain lawn mowing trimming services, Dean Street Park, Baker Avenue Park. This is something that's, this is the first time going out to bid for this. We've always just got quotes for this. Paul had, the comptroller had said that he thought that this is something that should be opened up, maybe for more bidders.
Mhm.
We've had the same people for years. I think the work has been more than satisfactory. But maybe it's time to offer this up and maybe we can save some money and get just as good a service. So that's yet to be seen. But I'm currently drawing up a bid because this has never been bid before. So I will finish drawing this up and have the attorneys review it before I go out to bid for this. But this is all something that needs to be done within the next month or so that we have people in place.
But we've done the previous, and Paul's not listening, but maybe he will if I just keep talking, is, I'm teasing you. You're doing your work, I know. Previously, I know we voted on resolutions for those contractors to do the mowing. How did we select? I mean, I know we saw names, we ran them through the committee, we ran them
Right.
through here. So how
This
did we
was-
find them?
How did we find them?
Yeah,
They've submitted.
they just submitted,
Long before we've gotten quotes
yeah.
for years.
Yeah, no. When we first, I know, I guess yeah, okay.
So. Why is this different?
Yeah, why is this different? Because you think we could save money? Paul,
had
anybody?
recommended that, well, because we have like,
I don't remember the conversation in the committees.
yeah, Paul raised it in committee.
Yeah.
Competitive quotes in quite a while.
Okay, yeah, no, it's fine. I just don't recall.
Done it for what, a dozen years?
At least.
Yeah.
You have some other areas where we have other contractors that.
Correct.
mow.
We have the holding ponds are done by
Right.
Brightview. That also is a rollover bid, so
But it went out to bid.
that went out to bid. So this is one area that we haven't ever gone out to bid before. Like, I bet you it's been 12 plus years. It's been a long time. So, and Paul got me the appropriate material for, then I need to write the spec, so I'll be moving forward with that. Any questions?
No, that was great. Thank you.
Do you want me to do the next one? Or are you gonna do it, Yasmin?
The intermunicipal agreement.
Yeah.
You can do that one. Well, that's one that we do every year because
Right.
you guys maintain
Yeah, just
the
talk about it. You
triangle
know what
area.
it is.
Yeah,
Yes, the
Yeah.
triangles and Grand Boulevard.
right.
We're trying to get this done a little earlier this year because of,
Yeah.
we got held up on the check last year, so,
Okay.
when they gave us
But
back.
just explain what it is. She's not, it's
Okay.
something you've done for
Just
100
a
years.
resolution for the supervisor to enter in a municipal agreement for 2019 with the county of Schenectady for mowing the maintenance of Grand Boulevard and the triangles on Route 7 and Union Street.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Just so folks know what we're talking about. That's all.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
you.
Okay, Matt Yetto.
Item number 12, I don't think we're ready for that yet.
Okay.
I believe that should be at least next month.
Okay.
We still need to do design services for that. 13 is a resolution to appoint a water sewer maintenance worker. Currently doing interviews right now, and I expect to have an applicant hopefully in a few days.
Okay.
So if it doesn't work out, we'll move it to the next month, but we have 2 openings that we're trying to fill. And there's very few people looking for jobs right now. It's amazing.
Wow.
So we'll keep trying.
Okay.
Next item, same idea, the recycling center. We're
Mhm.
currently taking names and hoping to get applicants that are suited for our position. And if we have one that comes before the meeting, we'll let the board know the name. But if not, we'll have to push it to the next meeting.
Okay.
15 is just a resolution to authorize the warrant for the 2018 fourth quarter corporate utilities rents. It's a standard resolution. Chris has come up with the numbers already. We've checked them. We're ready to go.
Okay.
16, every year we have to go through our sewer lift stations and we have to make repairs. And part of that is purchasing pumps, parts, and rebuild pieces from Seaward Equipment. So we need a resolution to authorize up to $19,900 for this year. I don't have the exact number right now for what we'll be buying because as we tear them apart, we find what's wrong, then we have to go out and buy them. So we can't wait for each month to go for individual approvals.
Okay.
17 is a resolution to award the demo contract to Jackson Demolition for the old water and sewer garage. The asbestos has been removed. Everything's ready to go. I'd like to award that this month so that they can get going on the project and hopefully have the billing down before activity picks up in the park for the spring.
How did the pricing come in for that?
$34,800.
That was about what you were budgeting, I think, yes?
It's a little bit less.
A little less.
We saved a little bit on the asbestos abatement as well.
Good.
Does weather play a factor in the demolition, or can they get it done during the winter time and have it all done by the time baseball season starts and
I'm gonna
people
push
in
them
Blatnick?
Yeah, I'm going to push them to do that because I don't want them to have equipment there while families are trying to enter the parking lot and kids are running around. So
Right.
yeah, that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, if we could make that a condition, that would be ideal. Thank you.
And 18, Rob's been working on the agreement with Pepsi to accept the high-strength waste at the wastewater treatment plant. We feel we're ready to go with that. The plant will be ready to accept the waste as soon as the 15th of March.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you, Matt.
No,
Thank you.
thank you. Deputy Chief Stevens.
All right, 19 is a resolution to award the contract for the maintenance on our police vehicles. That contract expires at the end of February. It's been out in the media, in the paper for the last week. And Monday, we opened the bids, the sealed bids. So we should have a name for Tuesday.
Okay.
So who currently has the contract, Chief?
Auto Solutions over in
Okay, and that
Blackburn.
was, we moved it from someplace else, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 years ago, we were at Niskin Tire for
Yeah.
years. And it went to bid and then it's up again.
Sure.
So.
Thank you.
And then 20 is the yearly agreement with Stop DWI for Schenectady County. This is a grant that we receive for both enforcement and oftentimes there's equipment money in there also. That may be changing this year. We're kind of hearing maybe less from the state for equipment, but the enforcement of it's still there.
Good.
So
Great.
that's all I got.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks. Next up, Bill Lawrence.
So this is a resolution to authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract for data cloud storage and disaster recovery. And basically, this is online storage of our data. Get a copy of our data backed up to an off-site location.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you. Paul Sebesta.
22 is a resolution to permanently appoint to the superintendent of water and sewer. The probation period is concluded and it's time to appoint. 23 is a resolution to set the salary for the confidential secretary to the supervisor, which is recommended step 3 of grade 15. And after an extensive search, I guess there we have a candidate.
Yep.
24, resolution to make budgetary modifications in both closing of 2018 and 2019 to date to account for the vehicle purchases that were determined not to be bonded this year. And 25, a resolution to adopt a fund balance policy. I have a copy here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Paul, as you're doing that, let's just go back up to the confidential secretary. We're being asked to make a determination on a salary based on what? You know what I'm saying? Like, we haven't seen a resume. We don't know, how are we supposed to make the determination what the person is worth?
Right.
Can you give us some advice as to how that's best to be done?
Well, a resume will be provided.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't even have a
Yeah,
name, so
I
it's
have one.
it's really.
You don't have a name, so
it's
you've
the
not seen the
appointment.
person or?
Oh,
okay.
no.
Okay,
So it's really the supervisor's recommendation. I'm just reporting.
yeah,
Yeah, I have,
but we are being asked to make a determination about a salary based on what Bigness's salary was post raise, not his starting salary. So,
and I don't know if I haven't even.
well,
had a-
he was at like, high 50s, right? And then he got a bump.
Yeah.
He got a couple of bumps.
Correct.
He got a step and
One-
a two,
one-
2.5%.
Yeah,
So,
you got a step and
Right.
a COLA.
right.
2.25.
So this number is based on,
I think I was told it's similar to that.
No, that this
Ivan?
number is not based off of Andrew Bigness at all. He was a different grade and step. His salary,
What was
he
his
started
grade and
at
step?
59. He was, I want to say, a grade 17, if I'm remembering correctly.
But
I would have to check
a
on that,
low
but
grade 17, and now we're going to go to a high grade 15. Is that?
He was a mid. I'll pull that resolution. I'll provide all of
Yeah,
that
just-
supporting documentation, but this was based off of matching another confidential secretary who we already have employed here. So the confidential secretary to the comptroller is a grade 15.
But based on, she's a grade 15, so it's based on her current
Her
salary.
title.
Her
Yes.
title.
So
What did
the
she
grades
start
are
at?
based on title and job description.
You know, the,
And so we can go back and see what she started at.
well, she started, yeah, she didn't start at the base either because she came with 15 years of experience from
Right,
Rotterdam. So
From a municipality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
So those are all things that can be provided as a point of comparison so that
great.
you'll be able to make that determination.
Thank you. That'd be
Yep.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the fund balance policy. So this was emailed, but here it is in hard copy.
Is this the same as the one that was emailed, or have there been changes to it?
This is the same one that was emailed Thursday afternoon last week.
Okay.
And it has changed from the beginning. Mainly what has changed is there is a capital reserve fund outlined in the definitions. There was originally planned to have a tax stabilization fund. That has been removed. We didn't want to overcommit fund balance to too many different funds. To begin with, a capital reserve fund is probably the best way to go, just because we do a lot of capital improvements, equipment purchases, so this would cover that. And the only other thing that was changed from the first version that I put together to this one is on the actual policy, item number 3, we changed not to exceed 20%. We bumped that up to 25%. We wanted to be more conservative with that number. And again, that's aimed at not overcommitting our fund balances to our own detriment.
So I did run what that would mean, the 25% on that separate page with the years 2015
Yeah.
to 2022. And I think we do need some further language to determine when that, and I mentioned this before, when that determination is made. For example, I was suggesting that it be made after the annual report submitted in the end of April. We'll have a firm fund balance number and based on that ensuing year's budget. So if based on that in 18, with the information that we have now, if you went with the 25% threshold, it would mean that 528,343 would be moved from the general fund and 679,131 from the highway fund. So that's still quite a bit of money, even though we made it more conservative. I just wanted, and this mandates that 1.2 million be moved out of fund balance. So it's still
Yeah.
a big number.
That is a very big number.
Right.
So for everyone, so we can review, this was something that came up during the budget process. You had recommended that we move forward with it. I know I can only speak for myself, but I think that others sitting here agreed with you wholeheartedly that we would pursue this. The supervisor did a great job and she took materials from the state comptroller and she put forward something for us. The three of us went and sat and talked about this. One of the pieces, and you were very good about providing sort of, let's look at the out years. If we're at the current contract levels of all just our obligations, our contractual obligations for our employees, where we would be with this. these numbers still seem pretty high.
I agree. And
So
I just did
I
this.
would like to maybe go back again, but here's the catch. I don't want to spend any of the reserve fund. We have reserve contingency fund spending on this agenda, this upcoming agenda. But I'm not sure we are all in agreement that we want to have a contingency fund policy where we would be spending at this level. I'm not comfortable with it.
Well, and that's
And
why
you clearly are not
I'm
comfortable with it.
I'm not either. That's why I wanted to, before we commit to this.
Yeah, I think,
Right.
and we were all in the
And-
same place.
Yeah,
I'm not
and
going to
I-
speak for the supervisor, but I think the three of us, you gave us
Mhm.
based almost solely on our contractual obligations, the bodies that we have to pay at this town hall.
Mhm.
It would become a little tricky in out years. So do we want to
Absolutely.
go back?
I think we need to make it less restrictive or more,
Okay.
flexible at.
That's my
looking at these-
position.
looking
I
at
would
these
like to-
numbers.
Try to go back. Maybe the three of us can get together again
Mhm.
and go back and look again at the out years.
Definitely.
But saying that, I am unwilling to do any contingency fund spending.
So
Until we
you're
get this-
referring to the 350,000.
Yes,
that's
I
on-
am.
Well,
Which is, there are items on there that I very much want. I want
Yeah.
to redo the dog park, right? But
no,
I
understand. Well,
but I don't want to put anybody else in a bad position, or I don't want to be able to not adequately be able to negotiate contracts or do any of the things that we have to do around here.
Well, the options are to put these back in bonding, which would be, it was a fairly significant effect on the tax rate, which is why they were carved out, because they're
Mhm.
shorter term amortization schedules. So
I
that's
think it's a
one
month,
option.
Paul. I don't think we're looking at,
Okay, no, that's
I mean,
fine.
unless the supervisor wants to present us with another bonding plan.
I'm fine.
I will
Well-
note that I can't speak for her. Maybe she
Now-
decides to do that.
Just to be clear, are you recommending that the cash items on our capital improvement list?
The cash items and the policy have always been one thing to me. So,
Oh,
and I
okay.
think
Just
to the rest of us, we
Well-
want to
Postpone.
have the policy
Yep.
and we want to be able to
Right.
figure out how much we're spending
The
of
the
cap.
policy can come later. The policy is wholly separate from that list.
It's not for us.
If you're going to do them in concert, this doesn't have any bearing on how you spend unassigned fund balance.
I know, but it does have a bearing on how much will be available in out years if we're,
Right, we're going to have that much less money.
Right, but
Yeah.
my point is we can hold on this fund balance policy. It has zero effect on that bonding schedule. That bonding schedule
I'm
and
not
that
saying
capital
bonding
reserve fund. Right,
Yeah.
but it's it's the list that we will be paying cash for items.
Yeah.
So a truck, there are several pickup trucks on that list.
Pickup trucks, police vehicles, basically.
So
dog
if,
park.
so if the thought is, those were all the under $50,000 threshold items.
Yep.
If we're going to build them back into a bonding list, that's fine. It will impact taxes next year. That's the issue. To spread it across the general and highway fund,
I didn't
that's why
say
we
the
took them
comptroller
out.
suggested bonding. I'm just saying.
No, I said it's an option.
Right,
It's an
but
option.
he
I'm not
suggested, I
suggesting-
did not say that.
I'm
I
not
just said,
suggesting
I
bonding.
think it will
Right.
drive what decisions we make about what number we cap it at, whether it's 25, 28, 29, 30, all these various things you give us, knowing how much is there.
Mhm.
So if we spend some of it ahead of time and then making the decisions, that's all. This isn't bonding versus, maybe this is,
Right.
we don't do them.
Right, that's, I was
Yeah,
going to
that's-
get.
That's always an
That's
option
the
here. I
third
know we
option.
don't like to talk about that,
No, I-
but maybe we don't do my dog park.
That was my third option. I didn't get to finish.
And I
It was
literally have a
bond,
dog in the hunt on this
cash,
one. I
don't
want
do
the
it.
dog park. So.
Right.
That's all. That's all. I just want
That's definitely an option.
to, okay.
Right.
So all the numbers that you gave us have this $353,000 that we're considering spending on these purchases included.
They're
in
not
these numbers.
included in.
They're not
They're
in these
not.
That's
numbers.
not on this schedule.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, so this is what it looks like after we've spent the money
This
that.
is what it looks
was
like now.
before us.
It didn't reflect the 350.
It
Right,
doesn't
well, that's
reflect-
what I was saying.
you
That's
said,
what-
the
that's what I
350 is
asked.
in
Yeah.
the total
Okay.
number. Yeah.
So the 353 is in this, so you would have to do a completely different
Yeah,
projection
It's not that much different, but yes, you're right.
after once we spend the $353,000, it's gone and it's not included.
I think we can get
Right.
there.
Right.
I have faith in everybody. So let's,
Okay.
I think it
Try
just
to meet
requires
again.
some more meetings and
Yeah.
some more thinking on it.
Right, and I
Right.
think the policy will have to come after the bonding and capital equipment purchases have been decided on. Because that total number then will have to be worked into the schedule.
Yeah, it's not going to have a huge effect. You have $5 million.
Right,
Take,
but
you know,
it will have
less than
some
10%.
effect.
Yeah, it's less than 10%.
Yeah. That's my recommendation. Anyway, that's the point I made.
And
My
that's
recommendation is
clear to
fund
me.
balance policy should come after.
Right. Well, it's clear to me that we need work on this fund balance policy, correct?
Right.
You're not comfortable with it. We're not really comfortable with it at this level. You're our
Yeah,
controller
there's
here.
no, it's not an emergency fund balance policy.
Right,
Well, not an emergency, but I'm right. It's something that we've been trying to get done. It's been
Right.
discussed and we're getting close, but we're not there yet.
Well, once we pass it, we're wedded to it, so we have to make sure that everybody.
well, it's subject to review every year, and it's something that would be decided, so you would want to follow your own policy ideally, but it's not something that would be, it's something that would be subject to discussion by the town
But the
board.
first year, if we implemented this as is, would be, I think, somewhat.
It's not conservative enough.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
ideally, you
Agreed.
want to follow your own policy that you set.
Right,
Okay, then we're holding on 26, the capital reserve, because that's all part of the fund balance policy. Or you
Right.
could, or you could move forward to establish a capital reserve. You don't have to fund it. There's a legal proceeding
right.
to just create a reserve. If you're in favor of a reserve as a general concept,
I
you
am
could
very
move
interested
forward
in
with that or hold it to be,
Right,
go along.
right. That can be done independent
It can
of
be.
the, right.
The funding is separate.
Yeah.
All right, 27 is the bonding of the equipment items that were over $50,000. So that included a $125,000 backhoe, a $250,000 tandem truck with plow and sander, and park improvements to various parks for $300,000. And they totaled, one, oh, I don't have a subtotal for those, but, well, those were the numbers I just gave you. 375, $675,000. Okay, and, 675 was 27 and 28 combined.
Okay.
So it's
675.
375 and 300 for 27 and 28.
Okay,
29 is the annual examination of the Justice Court records for fiscal year 2018, which is required by the Uniform Justice Court Act. I guess
Is that
they're
something you
yet
usually
to be received.
do you usually review that?
I've
Or
never
the
reviewed
supervisor's
them.
office reviews it?
We've had an independent auditor audit them in the past, and I guess we're doing an internal review, which complies with the
Mhm.
regulations. I've never reviewed them. Our independent auditor, Cusack and Company, has in the past. I believe they did it in 17.
So it's usually done by the supervisor's office? then?
Well, you say usually. I don't think we were reviewing them on every year. I don't think they've always been reviewed, and it was brought to our attention that they need to be reviewed. Then we did the Cusack audit, and now we're going to do an internal or a town board review.
Mhm.
Okay.
This is the kind of the timeline on that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Other than that, I do have 3 family and medical leave requests that if you can stay, we've just had sign-offs by board members. I can explain them real quickly. I would have done it in finance, but it was short. And they're all very standard. They have the medical doctors, sign off on them. And it's really, it's really just a kind of a quick review and approval of them so they can be granted 12 weeks of family and medical leave. It's a law. They followed the required procedures, filled out our required forms. And like I say, our process has just been to acknowledge that they've been submitted in proper form.
Okay, is this something we have to do in executive session, or is this something that?
It's been kind of an informal process to just sign an acknowledgement form. I can explain it to you. It's somewhat confidential, so it's not public, it's medical records. I'm just wondering if you can just stay for 5 minutes and take care of this.
Yeah, executive session would be best for that if we're dealing with confidential.
It would
I
be.
can't stay.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'll hold it for,
Well, if it
The
just
meeting.
takes, if it takes just three of us, then
Yeah,
Right.
do whatever you want to do.
yeah,
Just-
3 is adequate.
Yeah.
stay and
three's
do
adequate.
it, and
Sure.
that way
Okay.
we can
Okay,
We can do that.
thank you.
get it
Thank you.
accomplished.
Okay, last but not least, we have a presentation that Jeff Twitty is going to make regarding the upgrades to River Road Park.
Thank you, Jeff. We are also joined by the president of Niskuna Softball, David Epicarian. David, thank you for
Yes.
giving up your morning for this.
So just to give an overview of what I'll be going over today, I'll be looking at some of the town's proposed upgrades to the River Road Park, particularly to the park's softball fields and pavilions. And as Supervisor Councilwoman McGraw said, we are joined by Mr. David Epicarian representing Niskuna Softball today. So I'll be making sure to tag him in with some facts about the softball league's expansion and the dire needs for some of these improvements. So what we're looking at, the park is at 2870 River Road. It's a staple in town. It's about 35 acres, and it was developed in the early 1990s. It is the primary location for Niskuna softball fields, as well as a major summer camp in town and numerous recreational sports leagues. The town's park and pavilion can be rented on a per diem basis by residents. And it also serves a pretty critical connection from neighborhoods in the Rosendale Estates part of town, linking those, walkers, families, pedestrians, bikers through forest trails to Rosendale Elementary School, as well as Iroquois Middle School. And the existing facilities, there are existing pavilions, restrooms, as I said, softball fields, basketball courts, and the list goes on. It's a fully functioning park. So the town's master plan, this plan, I believe, is from 2014. It shows the 4 softball fields on site. There are 3 major ones, and field number 4 is, I wouldn't say unofficial, but there's a gate. So it's kind of, it's not as major as the other 3, but there are 3 major fields where softball games are played in the park. And it currently faces the park. A number of deficiencies, especially the softball fields. They have major drainage issues, lack many standard facilities, especially field 4. The existing restrooms on site are in need of update and in some cases repair. There are no vents in any of the restrooms. There is limited parking, limited seating, and limited storage on the site as well. There is also a pretty big opportunity to upgrade some of the trails that I said linked from Rosendale Estates to the schools, probably paving them or laying gravel on them. And these small pavilions on the western end of the park are fairly run down at the moment. And with this, I can read off the slide, but I will bring up Mr. Epicarian to go over some of the needs of the Niskuna softball program, if you'd like.
Thank you, Jeff. As indicated on the slide, over the last, since 2012, primarily 2000 13 and 14, we had a new board essentially take over Niskuna softball, seeing a need in the community because a lot of our kids were being forced to go play in other communities. And we felt, why are we giving our talent to other communities when there should be a program here in Niskuna for our girls? So a new board was formed, and we are a 100% volunteer board. We do employ some paid coaches at the high end for our 16s, 14s, 18s travel teams. Those folks are paid professional coaches that come in. But as you can see, the growth has been tremendous, from 1 travel team to 9 within the course of just a few years. We also have approximately 12 to 15 recreational teams that play. That's all levels. And we're looking at 150 plus players this year. Along with this, we hold many clinics, as well as we'll be holding our first tournament this year, which is brand new for the field, which is great for the town as well. The 3 fields that we currently have at River Road Park, 2 of them are playable probably during the season 75% of the time. They don't drain. Field 3 is any kind of rain is unplayable for weeks. Everything drains into Field 3 essentially. We do try to use pumps to get the field literally pumped off with water. It's a struggle. So essentially, we really have 2 good fields, which was fine when we had 1 or 2 teams, but now with 9 travel teams and 12 recreational teams, our schedule does become a juggling match. As far as Field 4 being there for softball, it's really not usable for us at any level besides possibly in the 8 and under group, more like T-ball, if you think T-ball for baseball. We do the same with softball. So this is very important for the program. The program continues to grow leaps and bounds. We have a very committed group of folks on the board. We're growing that board, and we're ready to really take this to large levels, and we appreciate your support on this. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. So just to give a visual of the fields, this is what they look like, after any rainstorm in the summers. You can see the drainage is very poor, and it leaves approximately anywhere from 30 to 40% of the games on the field canceled. So a solution to this problem would be to bring in these upgrades that would create a public space and really serve everyone's needs, particularly the needs of the town and the needs of Niskuna softball. So what we're looking to do for the softball fields is add drainage or improve the drainage on fields 1, 2, and 3, add a warning track and storage to fields 1 and 2, flip field 3 and add lighting to field 1, and hopefully further down the line, make field 4 a more official, if you will, field. We would also like to upgrade the western pavilions, which would both give the town another pavilion to really rent out, more opportunities for residents in town to hold events, private events at River Road Park, and it would also help serve some of these seating issues, because it would give a view to the softball field as well. We would also like to add public bathrooms or improve the public bathrooms that are already on the site to make them more accessible to trail users and to renters of the pavilions at the park. So how we're looking to fund this, we would use $250,000 from Congressman Phil Steck, which is part of the State and Municipal Facilities Program. And that funding would be used to upgrade Field 1 and Field 2 in the Park Pavilion. And that would be phase 1 of the project that we'd hope to have done by 2020. This whole part is actually part of phase 1. $215,000 would be bonded by the town, and that would include flipping and draining Field 3, adding lighting to Field 1, the bathroom improvements, and water source and spigots on the field as well. And $80,000 would be fundraised privately through Niskuna Softball, and that would include new field greener equipment, concession stand, a zero-turn mower for the site, as well as miscellaneous field equipment.
David, can you just remind us, it was originally 100 from Niskuna softball?
That's correct. We just haven't identified the other 20,000.
That's fine. I told the crew 100, so I just want to thank you. So, but in your mind, you're still aiming for 100.
Correct.
Thank you.
So the impact to the park would be pretty major from phase one. There would obviously be extended hours brought about by the LED lighting. There would be additional gathering for picnics, parties, and events through the improved pavilions and bathrooms, improved drainage for all who use the field, and improved recreational facilities, not just for softball, but for the entire town as well. Phase 2 and 3. Phase 2, we're hoping to have complete by 2021 or 2022, and that would include lightings to Field 2 and 3, upgrades to Field 3 and parking lot upgrades, and path upgrades connecting the trails from the communities, neighborhoods, and schools. In Phase 3, we're looking to have those completed by 2023 and beyond. And that would include the formal creation of Field 4 and adding lighting to Field 4 as well. And are there any questions?
Thank you, Jeff. And Dave, I appreciate this presentation, and a lot of these improvements seem very exciting. I do have a few questions that I'd like to ask, and full disclosure, I am a big baseball and softball fan, and I actually played softball for a couple of years in high school, and my daughter was a participant in the Niskayuna recreational softball program for a few years in her earlier childhood, and the program is fantastic. It's really a wonderful program, and my compliments to Niskayuna softball. I also live in the Rosendale Estates neighborhood, and very close to the nature park entry on Hempstead
Right.
Road that leads into the nature trail that leads into the park. And in the nicer weather, I walk the park with my dog several times a week. So I probably know this park more than any other park in Niskayuna, and I will be extremely grateful for the improved restroom facilities, especially. I do have a few questions, and I'm going to start with the first one. When we put a larger pavilion at the top of the park by the nature trail,
Right.
how are people going to park? Because the majority of the parking there is kind of at the bottom of the park by the playground. That's where the big parking lot is, and there's only a couple little spots that are kind of by the nature trail.
Yes, people do fill up that small parking lot on the western end, but people also utilize parking along the road going up to that pavilion for our Arbor Day event at the Planning Department for the Tree Council last year. That's how a lot of attendees kind of park. They just parked along that road. So
Right.
that serves the parking need for that pavilion as of now.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of have a safety concern about that because people do walk that. That's part of like a walking loop around that park.
All right.
So I'd like to see the parking plan of how you would expand parking, because I'm not sure that that's a good long-term solution. I don't know if you can go back to the slide of the whole park. I think you passed it. I'm not sure if you did or.
Just showing the overhead of the whole park.
The overhead of the full park, where you see that walking loop around.
Right. Yep.
So if people are parked there, especially on both sides,
Yeah, it can
People
become
are-
tight.
it can be pretty tight. So I'm not sure what adjustments we can make there. It's really not. It's not a standard road.
Right.
So I just have a slight concern about that. I don't know if an option could be making the existing pavilion prettier because it's by the parking. I mean, I definitely would like to see nice pavilions, at the top of the park as well, but to put all that money at the top of the park when there's not parking, perhaps making the pavilion that's already there. Renovating that one might be an alternative as well. Also, I know that there's been interest in adding a concession stand. Girls softball has come to my meetings and community programs several times and discussed the need for a concession stand, both to feed the people who come to watch the games and to create a revenue stream for them. And I know that was part of what was discussed. Where is that idea?
That would be fundraise the funds for the concession stand, correct?
Yeah, we took responsibility for that and looking, one of the options we're looking at is the existing pavilion does have an area with a roll-up door.
Okay.
It was used as a warming hut, I guess, back in the day when they used to ski, cross-country ski in the park. We haven't been able to get in there and really look to see what's there as far as power and options. But if we could use that room, that would save everyone a lot of grief and a lot of money as far as having versus building a new concession stand.
Okay, Ray, do you have any thoughts on that?
We had discussed it, with softball. Just barely touched on it, but there was concerns because the programs, Lori's programs, use that room for storage and also on inclement weather days. So that was thrown out there so that
Right.
it could be talked about more and maybe work something out, so.
So maybe if we renovated it, there could, we could add an additional space next to it or attached
Sure, you could, yeah. I mean,
to it. And Lori, what are your,
Yeah, that is during the 5 weeks of playground program that there's two rooms that are used for storage and for programming, which can't, store all our supplies there. So it's not something that can be like moved back and forth on a daily basis.
right. So we definitely need to work in a concession stand into this, into the plan to, somehow. I would hate to see all of this done and then not have the concession stand that you guys really need.
Yeah, I would agree that a concession stand is necessary as a revenue stream
Mm-hmm.
for the league and to help grow the league, sure. I guess when we got down to looking at the numbers in the last meeting we had with the Greg, everybody was there, it was, we don't get the fields fixed.
Right.
The priority is
Okay.
you're not gonna have kids. right?
So that's something to look at down the road.
Yeah, I think sooner than later down the road, but it's also something we as a league can assist you with as far as fundraising for physical items like that in a league, from the league's point of view, is much easier than fundraising to fix a field.
Right.
So that's where we definitely need to continue that discussion as to where and how that concession stand gets worked in. I think it's an ongoing discussion right now.
If we're looking at building a pavilion, though, maybe while we're building something, maybe we can,
Sure.
work it in to the design of whatever we're building or renovating. It would be probably less expensive than building something from the start, from the ground up down the road. So that might be something we can look at. Let's see. What are you guys doing for a sound system in terms of, you have a plan for announcing?
I have a loud voice. That is something we're in discussion. The part of the other $20,000 is to have a remote PA system on each field.
Okay. And in terms of the lighting, do we have like hours of lighting? Because I know that's something new, and you do need lighting to play after dark. But the park does back up into the backyards of Parkville Place over there. So that's going to be something new for them that they haven't had before. So are there specific hours for lighting?
I do not believe, not at this point, but the lighting I've been told is LED. It's not like the high school football lights that
Okay.
just bleed out. So a lighting plan can be shown to the town that kind of shows that light will not bleed out into the surrounding
Okay.
neighborhood. It will be focused right onto the fields.
Okay, so there's lighting that exists that'll focus it onto the fields, and it won't affect it won't go into the backyard windows of,
Right.
in the back windows of people's houses on Parkville Place. Okay, excellent. That's good to know. So I guess those are my questions, concession stand. And, and how many tournaments do you think that you'll be able to bring in once these fields are?
Well, once these fields are set and ready to go, at the different age levels, you could go all the way up to College Showcase if you had 4 fields. you could be doing, similar to what baseball does. They run tournaments quite frequently. Outside of our main rec season, I mean, if we could easily have 6 to 8 tournaments on that facility. The other thing you can bid for too is sectionals, for the high school sectional during high school season. With 4 fields and even with some lighting, and even if it's 1 or 2 fields, you very easily could be bidding for sectional tournaments as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for answering my questions. Appreciate it.
I want to ask you about that. Would there be enough parking for an event like that, though?
One thing I have found over the years is softball families are very inventive in the way they park. So it is not ideal. However, using the side road and the road that goes above, you would have enough, because remember, at any one time, you're going to have 8 teams playing, 12 kids average on a team. So that's about 100 parking spots that you're going to need. I'm not sure, how many are in there now?
I had the numbers when we met.
Yeah, I don't know, but then you'll have some crossover as the games go. But if you have, if you're bringing, say, 1,500 people in for a tournament, they're not all there at the same time.
Yeah.
You're rotating through from literally 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, when you start, all the way to the time you finish. So you're looking at needing about 100 to 150 spots at the end of the day.
And what was the thought about that Western Pavilion rather than increasing the size of the we'll call it the main pavilion there?
From softball standpoint,
Yeah.
it would be fine with us. The issue you run into with the current pavilion as it sits, when you bring the higher level girls to play, like your 16s, 18s, even your 14s, you tend to get a lot of foul balls off into that pavilion. We're looking at netting and some different things to prevent that as we go forward. But moving that pavilion up top, or having an alternate pavilion up top would probably be a benefit to the community. So there, when we do hold something, or we have teams playing, we're not intersecting someone trying to have a graduation party, or because that does occur. And of course, we don't want softballs flying into their events. So having the pavilion up top would be a positive in our opinion.
Right. Are the fields the same size? Could you move the older girls to a different field if the field distances
Yeah,
for
if you
prop?
had 3 and 4 up and running, you could move the older girls to those fields, which would prevent a lot of going into that.
Yeah, so that might be an idea too.
So as you go down the road and we get field 3 and 4 up and running, definitely that's an option, yes.
Okay.
But it seems like now, though, the money's going to be spent on the upper pavilion, right? That was scheduled to be rebuilt. Is that what you've got in the plan?
Correct. Yep, that's the case right now. And kind of as was mentioned, the reason that we're focusing on that pavilion is because it would provide a benefit to the town, because it would make more rentable space effectively.
Right.
So
So we could rent it more, but as Mr. Abkarian said, it's probably not something that you want to rent when there's a softball event or a lot of softball happening there. Yeah, it's up in the upper part of the park there, but there's going to be a lot of other activity there.
right, but some parents may want to rent it because it does have a view of the fields, or will have a view of the fields. Or so some softball families may want to rent it out on a tournament day, just to have a place to kind of settle during a tournament. But
Yeah.
through the rest of the year, be used mostly for graduation parties, things like that.
But
Right,
as
but you wouldn't be
Councilwoman
able-
Weber said,
Right.
there's a parking issue up there.
Oh,
Right.
oh yeah, there's really only a handful of spots there right now. And really, if people are parked on the circle, which they tend to do, there's no place to drive around. You can't get through to drive,
Right, yep.
to circle around, to turn around. It really creates an issue when people are parking all creatively in terms of being able to exit the park. You can't make a K-turn to turn your car around. And, plus there's children running in and out, and that's not an ideal parking
And
situation.
it's absolutely something we'll look at, Laura and I.
Okay.
I got a question for Ray. So you've been involved with this, yes? And what about the design, the drainage, all those issues? I'm really more concerned about the drainage and your thoughts on that.
We didn't get into detail over drainage. We know that drainage is needed in the fields. There is a trunk line that is accessible through them fields.
A stormwater line?
Yeah, we made it a closed system. It wasn't open ditch years ago. We made it a closed system and we have multiple catch basins that go through the old swale there. This all drains down into a holding pond down on the far end of it, down towards Seneca and back in there. There's a detention basin, so there is room for, adding more water into it. There are accessible points. We have talked about maybe some reconfiguration for parking. And the parking along the side was obviously a concern in our first meetings. And also looking at additional parking. One of the, not only people can't get in there and turn around, your fire personnel and your emergency services, you got events like that, you may need to get an ambulance in there. So that's something that really needs to be looked at and done appropriately. We did touch base on, where could we reconfigure? I've talked to Laura a little bit, even outside of the meeting, because of that concern. So.
Well, those are legitimate concerns. I think we're trying to upgrade that pavilion out there and make it, more desirable to use and more rentable, as you said, that, we don't want to do that if we don't have the proper access and parking.
Between us and softball, they have a vision as what they want to do. We also have a vision as what we want to do. And we want to make it adequate for all. So everything was touched upon, like I said, they had introduced maybe using the warming room for concession stand. I had concerns that Lori works out of there.
Right. Obviously, that's not going to work.
Is there compromise? There can always be
Right,
compromise. And I think everybody just needs to work together and really come up with a plan. We did talk about extra parking, just where it fits. We have to do that, yeah. So.
Would the money be better spent making the upgrades to the main pavilion?
One of the concerns I have with that, it may be the right decision. It's not my decision to make, but I have been there in the past with even my own grandkids. And when there's a softball game going on and there's people trying to have a birthday party and all the people are using that one set of bathrooms, it's pretty invasive to the people who rent the pavilion. So I think you really need to look at additional and separate. And, I understand the funding. Like I say, it's not my decision to make, but you have to look at what's best suitable for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
I had a quick question about phase 2 and phase 3. If you could pull that slide up. Thanks. Okay. So I think in phase 2, do I see the third line down, the parking lot upgrades and paths?
Correct.
So that's probably when we would be addressing the parking needs.
Yes, and
So priority 1 is getting the fields playable and either making improvements to the existing pavilion or providing for another pavilion, just because we do have that competition for the space existing already. But at least that's something that's provided for and looking forward.
But the upgrades to the Western Pavilion, we're in phase 1.
Right,
yes, they are.
right. Yeah, can we go back to phase 1, the phase 1 project? Thank you. Right, so you see the park pavilion up there at the top. So that'll be something that we'll have to talk about then a little bit more is, do we want to have a new pavilion in a different location, or do we want to renovate the existing pavilion, make it more accessible, address the bathroom issues, possibly put up some kind of, do they have any kind of barrier fencing, David, that would prevent fly balls? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, we're looking at some netting that we can.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that could be a You do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the baseball fields use it as well.
okay, so that could be a potential. Okay. But bathrooms definitely are an issue. I do know that. Lisa, you would agree, right? You use
Oh,
that park quite often.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I'm totally in favor of putting up new bathrooms.
Yeah.
Even if you put up new, I think you should still look at renovating the ones that are there.
Oh,
already.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They're in need of new petitions and, maybe different fixtures and that, so I would definitely include that.
Well, if you remember in the original plan, we had a concession stand with bathrooms sort of set in the middle.
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, I remember that.
As opposed to like parking, I didn't think about that for that upper pavilion. That's a good point.
Yep.
But if you go to the slide, sorry, Jeff. Go to the slide that I sent over to you, the one with the line drawing. Yeah, that one, yeah.
Hmm.
In that middle area there where the fields sort of somewhat all come together, that was the original plan to sort of have your concession stand and bathroom.
Hmm.
So that's how, that was how we envisioned it
Right.
when we first sat down, so. that-
Right, if we're building, I'm just thinking out loud, if we're building new bathrooms, perhaps build a concession stand out. You're.
Right, that's what we had there in the middle of the pier, is in the
Right.
middle of the park, so it's accessible to
Yeah.
trail walkers, it's accessible to anybody using it, it's right in the middle. That was sort of our initial vision when we sat down.
Hmm.
But
Right.
was there an issue with, running lines to it, or?
That's one of the things we discussed was that was a lot of money
To
to
run
run that
that
infrastructure
Out.
all the way through there, and that would have to be planned forward, because you wouldn't want to do improvements to the fields and then have to dig them up to do. The infrastructure was, when that was gonna take a long time, and we thought was very expensive.
What if we kept it to the side?
Well, you still have to run them you gotta start from scratch with infrastructure.
Right.
Okay,
He's gotta have power, he's gotta have, you would wanna do, obviously, he would run his lighting controls and everything out of that complex. No matter where you put it, you have to run all the major utilities to it for it to work. You gotta run sewage, you gotta run water, you gotta run the big power for all the lighting,
mm-hmm,
your scoreboards. Everything has to be hooked in there, and that's a great expense before you even start building.
right.
Their concept was great, but I think when we looked at it, wasn't it, David, that, we talked about the infrastructure, how much it would take.
Right, that was the conversation, was what's there, what do we have access to, is there anything there?
Their
Or
concept
do we have to
was,
build it?
the concept was a great idea.
Right.
The pavilion came into play when we actually did discuss the infrastructure needed to do that.
Right, because everything's there, right?
Where are the bathrooms going down?
The upper,
Go up by the
yeah, the upper corner up there
Where them two, I'm sorry.
by the circular parking lot.
No, there's no, so utilities would have to be brought up there.
So we're talking about putting new bathrooms in up at the Western Pavilion.
By the new pavilion,
And are we fixing up the ones in the existing pavilion?
that's what I'm saying. We could fix them up also.
I mean, is it more cost effective to fix and build off what we have because all of the infrastructure is already there in terms of the power?
Then you got residents trying to use it and softball trying to use it. Who are you gonna deny? If you have one bathroom, somebody's not getting in.
Well, no, I mean,
To expand it, you
if to
mean?
expand it, if we have a bathroom in the pavilion and then a bathroom outside the pavilion, but we're all building off the same infrastructure because you already,
The building really doesn't lend itself to expansion.
okay.
Mhm. Is there enough space over there?
On the
I wonder.
backside,
Right,
if you came out the backside of the building, that's pretty flat and level. Towards the fields, towards field one or field two, there's not a lot of room there. think the only place you would be able to expand off would be come off the back by the path or the front by the path. Those would be really your only two areas I think you could expand off.
It's already congested, so I mean.
It is very
you know,
congested there.
We're already put screens up so we don't hit the kids on the playground. So to jam something else in that general vicinity, probably not a good idea.
Plus you got our storage areas there where we're using,
You wanna put
mowers
your
and tractors are
trailers
running in and
there.
out to maintenance of the fields.
You have any ideas, Jeff? I see you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Great. Thank you very much.
Well, I think we're going to figure it out and we're going to make improvements.
Yeah, just getting those fields playable will be a huge
Right.
improvement for the girls. Yeah, well, that'll be great.
I think there's a lot of options and ways that we can proceed and that whatever we do will improve things for the players and for the community as well. I think we just are looking for the best way within the constraints of the park to get it all done. So thank you. Thanks for the information.
Okay. If there's no further business, I am going to make a motion to enter into executive session. Paul Sebesta, you can stay behind. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're going to enter into executive session. At the conclusion of executive session, we will be adjourned. Thank you all for coming.